I am thrilled and super excited to share with all of you that I was able to finish 4th place from the most recent 2023 online regionals event playing the Beelzemon X Antibody deck. Digimon fans, welcome back, and today we'll be showcasing my most updated version of the Beelzemon X Antibody deck. Beelzemon, as we all know, is clearly one of the strongest decks of the BT12 format, and it is incredibly fast and powerful. Today, I'm going to show you guys the exact build that I decided to go with and managed to finish 4th place with it from the most recent online regionals event. This updated version is further optimized compared to my first Beelzemon X Antibody deck profile video, and I'll also be going through some advanced combos and strategies for this particular deck, which I didn't get to cover from my previous one. If you guys would like to see the gameplay and matches, I actually live streamed the tournament while I was playing too, and I'll leave links in the description box down below so you guys can watch and learn from it as well. But first, let's talk about the updated build. Alright, with the Digi-Egg cards, Yamon from the Beelzemon Starter Deck Advanced Deck set is still the one that I'd like to go for. This deck build is strategized to sort of build your stack, mill as much as you can while you do so, and really is more top-end focused. When you get your stack combos going, you can really pop off with this Digi-Egg, or even when you're level 4s or 5s is always really nice. Therefore, 4 copies is really all you need for this egg, being one of the best ones for the deck. Now let's get into our rookies. Actually, like to play and continue to play this BT2 Impmon with its undulation effect to mill 3 is still very nice. It is my early game chipping damage Digimon that I use to chip my opponent's security away. Has really good capabilities when it can potentially come back as well, and just a really nice, great rookie to always have. And yeah, I decided to go for 3 with this specific ratio just because I want to see it often enough, but not like super often to the point, and it has worked out very nicely for me throughout the entire course of the regionals as well. And of course, the other minor tweak I made was mainly with this Starter Deck 14 Impmon from the Beelzemon Advanced Starter Deck, and from 4 copies I decided to go down to 3 just because its warping capability is really just more for late game. We have a lot of recursion when it comes to getting our resources back specifically, and we can pick anything that we like. We don't really need to see this as often, which is why exactly I like to go for a 3-3 split with these 2 Impmons so far. Just because, again, like just have a good balance depending on the situation is just more suitable for me, but just still a really, really strong, powerful card to have for sure. Then, this one is definitely the 4 of, as we all know, the EX2 Impmon, which lets you potentially trash more cards. If it is milled other than by a Impmon EX2 effect, you can mill up to another 3 cards, and it's also a Yume option, so you get to choose, which is really nice. It does have a hard on-play effect, letting you search for Iron Makos and a Beelzemon in its name too, which is super crucial. You can grab yourself Beelzemon, you can grab yourself Beelzemon X Antibody, you can even grab yourself Beelzemon Blast Mode is what makes this card super good, and with its versatility of being able to Digivolve to give your Beelzemon extra 3000 DP in its name with its inheritable is really, really, really strong, and this is definitely one of the best rookies for sure that you want to see as often. But there are some really intricate and really important strategies about more advanced stuff that I'll go in the combo segment when you're playing this card, particularly because making your decisions while playing this card is really crucial during the game. But I'll talk about it more in the combo later on, so definitely stick around for that. And then last but not least, to round off for all of our Impmons, we do have the 4 copies of Beelzemon X Antibody. This is really crucial when it comes to grabbing any card you want back, because on play, by trashing 1 option card from your hand, you get to return 1 Digimon card with Evil, Wizard, or Demon Lord, and it straight back to your hand. So it can be almost anything you need to either build your stack, find a Wizardmon to gain a memory, or with your Ayamaku combos or whatnot if you need to go for those plays, find a Baomon if you need even, or find a Beelzemon. Basically any recursion that you really need. And the best thing is trashing an option card from your hand. Your normal target would actually be 7 full cluster with this card, because you don't really need to have it in your hand in most cases. Otherwise, all your other cards you'll be milling, and with its inheritable, just helps out very nicely with even attacking milling too as well. If you guys are fans of both Dragons and Digimon, then be sure to check out our latest battle series with Dragonic Roar EX3. Sam and I will be teaming up once again to play against our friends with the Evil Virus Imperialmon and 4 Great Dragons deck against Examon and Hydramon. Come find out which dragon is the strongest by watching the newest episode after this video, where links will be left in the description box down below. Also, don't forget to subscribe and give this video a like, as it really helps, and I appreciate the support from all of you. That's it with all of our rookies. Let's talk about our level 4s. Still very standard. The 4 copies of Wizardmon that you want to see as often as possible. This is like a milling setup target that you always want to put back to the top of your deck, so you can mill it, gain a memory, and you can just like do a lot of crazy combos, which is always nice to see when you do mill this card. Then also 4 copies of Wizard X here. Just milling 2 when you digivolve it. If you digivolve it on top of Wizardmon, it gains blocker. Does come up rarely every now and then if you really desperately need that blocker. But otherwise, you usually be digivolving straight on top of an Impmon, just so that you can mill 2 instead. And being able to mill 2 when digivolving, so they can go for more combos. And with its inheritable, giving you even more milling when you attack, just like the Beelzemon X is just really what this card is all about. And it's just super good too. That's it for all of our level 4s. Let's talk about our level 5s. I decided to go back into a pure starter deck 14 with the Beelzemon Advanced Deck set, 4 copies of the Beelzemon right here. This one just has the floating capability of when digivolving, trashing top 3 cards of your deck, and also it gains the on deletion. If you have 10 or more cards in your trash, you get to play a Beelzemon back from your trash for free, which comes up a lot of times. It does help, make your opponents play around it a little bit, forces them, pressures them, and doesn't make them want to delete your guy or swing over it and stuff like that, which is mainly handy. But ideally, again, the main reason why I play this particular copy is because I just really like the on digivolve milling immediately. It can help you turbo. If you set up nicely with your combos, you can just mill so much and gain so much advantage just by that. And sometimes you can even swing and have all those inheritables to mill even more cards. It really helps turbo super quickly compared to the BT10 one. But, both of them are equally just as good, which I always say. But just for now, I wanted to go for a more consistent one this time in this particular regionals. And with its inheritable of extra 2000 DP, does definitely help you swing over stuff, which is really crucial. Because now the other thing is I'm actually wanting to try the Beelzemon X Antibody, and after trying the Beelzemon X Antibody and deciding to bring it up to the competitive level, this card is really, really good because not only it also mills free when digivolving, just like what Beelzemon usually does, you get to grab yourself X Antibody back, and you can pull off X Antibody combos with this particular card. And with this particular deck as well, with the X Antibody option, it comes in handy. It can help you just instantly close games without thinking too much at all, even. Or otherwise, popping a level 4 or lower Digimon, if you digivolve on top of Beelzemon, is also a very nice versatile effect to get rid of something small, and then you can combo with something bigger later, and then delete even bigger things. So that's really what he is all about, and it has the exact same inheritable as the regular Beelzemon with extra 2000 DP with its inheritable. That's it for our level 5s. Let's talk about our level 6s. I definitely like to play the 2 copies of this Beelzemon still from the EX2. Really, really powerful card when you do potentially mill him, because you can play an Impmon back. Otherwise, it has a very good early game control style where it can, pop things that are level 3 or lower, increasing the level by 1 for every 10 cards in your trash, and just deal with your opponent's board and mill at the same time, which is not once. It gets it when digivolving, it also gets it when attacking, not once per turn as well. And just a very versatile effect, because the milling is optional as well with its effect, and it's not a requirement in order for you to delete. So you can always constantly delete stuff without even milling if you don't want to mill it out yourself, which is definitely really nice. And a 2 of is very standard, which I feel, and just really, really smooth and nice. And then we do play the 2 copies of the Beelzemon from the Advanced Deck set himself, the cover card. This really cool, powerful card because it trashes when it digivolves, gains you memory back, and it's all turns as well. So keep in mind, anytime when you do end up milling during your opponent's turn with your own effects, you get to basically gain memory and disrupt your opponent's turn with this card. Gaining the security is super crucial. Making those 2 big swings sets it up, and then you can potentially go for your big lethal combos along with the Beelzemon X Antibody, which we will talk about a bit more. But, this card is also just a must-have as a 2 of. Very even split, super strong card that you want to see often in the trash as much as you can, so you can warp into it. Otherwise, as well, this guy you want to have access to, which is Beelzemon X Antibody, digivolving for 1 on top of regular Beelzemon. Otherwise, you can digivolve it for 4 on top of purple level 5, which rarely happens, because you don't really want to be doing that unless you have the X Antibody option, just because you do need to fulfill its main effect of when Digivolving. If this Digimon has Beelzemon or X Antibody and Digivolution cards, trash the top card of your opponent's security stack for every 10 cards in your trash, and you easily get to 20 and 30 with this deck all the time. You just trash it instantly and you swing for game and whatnot. It's just a super powerful card. Otherwise, it does have its floating capability as well. With its on deletion, you get to play an Impmon in its name from your trash without paying memory costs, which comes up every now and then. But like I mentioned before, when you play this card, you're about to end games anyways. So really, really crucial. And a 2-of is also just the best ratio, which I personally prefer. And then, last but not least, for all of our rounding off our Digimon, 2 copies of Blastone still. Initially, I did talk about only needing really 1 because you have always access to it, but there are some times in dire situations, this guy might be stuck in your security and you just need him to finish off the combo. You just need him to finish off the game and you're just not seeing it. That's why I decided to bump it up a little bit more. And it does have really good benefits when it gets milled, because you can pop lower level stuff like level 3, and every 10 cards in your trash increase the level by 1, which is really nice. And like I mentioned, you always get access back to it, and effectively it's going to be a 1-cost Digivolve because you gain 3 memory back and you can unsuspend and swing and do all those crazy stuff. And yeah, basically your game ending card all the time when you play alongside with Beelzemon X Antibody or even just regular Beelzemon 2. That's it for all of our Digimon. Let's talk about our Tamers. I like to play 4 copies of I Am Mako. They are so crucial for the deck. You want to be seeing them as soon as possible. Not only that they search on play, they grab you basically anything you need, Evo, Wizard, or Demon Lord trait among them to your hand. It's really all about setting up for your mill combos. By Digivolving into a purple Digimon, you get to suspend these guys, place something back from your hand to the top of your deck to gain a memory, and then you can potentially gain another memory, making a lot of things super memory efficient just because of these guys. And the more you have, the even better with them, because you can stack multiple of these Tamers right here, and by doing so, you really turbo into them super quickly, and you get into your combos super fast, all because of them, which is why it's so important, and I heavily emphasize on having 4 copies no matter what. And that's it for all of our Tamers. Then we play the 4 copies of Deathslinger. We know how good this card really is. Just a 4 cost effectively. You get to remove almost anything you want, because usually you do delete a level 4. Early stages of the game for paying 4 costs just to delete a level 4 is absolutely fantastic and super easy. And every 10 cards in your trash, you increase the level, so getting 10 or 20 is super easy in this deck. You can delete level 6s, level 5s, and whatnot. Just for 4 costs is so memory efficient, and also most importantly, when it gets milled, you gain that memory back as well with this card. So yeah, alongside with Wizardmon, you gain so much memory, and you definitely want to see this also super often as much as possible too. Not only done with our options, we still have the other really best option of this deck. I play 4 copies of Rivals Barrage. Essentially, it is your wild card, like I mentioned so many times. It gets you anything back when it's milled. Of course, if you mill it in the same turn, you can't use it just yet because it is a delayed effect. But otherwise, it is also a really good security bomb, just like Deathslinger. If your opponent doesn't respectfully swing into your security and not respect it, these bombs, there's a lot of security bombs in Beelzemon that can actually help you turn the tide and turn the game around very easily, and with their deletion effects, because it deletes your opponent's Digimon of the highest level too. And otherwise, this option is just, again, so versatile with its delay effect as well when it gets milled and whatnot. You know, being able to access anything you want is just really what it's mainly there for. But yeah, just a very powerful option card that you definitely want to see as often. And then, last but not least, I actually played 2 copies of 7 Full Cluster. Now, a lot of people are actually curious, why are people playing 7 Full Cluster and 2 copies now? Well, initially, most people in the beginning of the format are only just playing 1. I also felt the same way. You only need 1, really. But this is actually particularly good against the Wargreymon and the Machinedramon matchup, because 7 Full Cluster is not once per turn type of card. The more you have in trash, you can stack its effect over and over again. So by meaning that if you have 2, you go from Beelzemon into Beelzemon X. If you have 2 7 Full Clusters in your trash, you get to use both of them at the same time to delete both of your opponent's Digimon with the lowest level at the same time. So you delete one of their lowest level first by resolving the effect, and then you delete another Digimon that they have as lowest level. So if they had a small rookie on board at first, you can delete that, and then afterwards you can delete one of their bigger stuff as well, which is very hard to anticipate in the current moment. Or like I mentioned specifically for the Wargreymon matchup, they're going to have protection sources underneath it, and by doing so, they're going to be forced to trash more than 2 just sources in order to sort of protect against 7 Full Cluster. And this exactly applies the same to Machinedramon, meaning that they're going to have to protect 2 times as well if that is the only Digimon that they have left in the board. And usually these big stack decks really only just have that one Digimon, which is why it's super nice to have the 2 copies of it right now. And definitely works very, very nicely. With Wargreymon being a very, very tough matchup. Not like super tough. With Wargreymon being having the most decent matchup against Beelzemon, they can actually have a lot of ways to play around you, which is why, again, yeah, this has actually worked out nicely for me, for sure. And then last but not least, for the final option, like I mentioned earlier, because we play the Beelzemon X Antibody, it only makes sense to play the X Antibody option card alongside with it. There are some really nice combos you can pull off with this as well when you're attacking, and like I mentioned, which I'll showcase you guys later, which is a super good card. Otherwise, security card is also really nice because it gains your memory and you can disrupt your opponent's turn and what's not. And if they don't respect it as well, it definitely comes in surprise, and yeah, super handy card. Really, really good for sure. That'll wrap up for the 50 card main deck. Now let's jump into the advanced strategy guide and sort of some newer additional combos I want to showcase you guys, which are more geared towards more experienced players compared to beginners overall. If you guys want to learn and see the basic combos, definitely check out the older Beelzemon video, which I posted earlier for the X Antibody, and as well as other additional cards, which I don't really need to talk about in this specific video because I covered most of them in that particular video as well. And you guys can learn the basics first and then come back to this combo segment right here so that you can learn a little bit more ways to help you improve your Beelzemon gameplay. So the most common way of course, just building your Beelzemon stack is that you're digivolving into your rookies and then into your level 4s, and eventually you want to see your Beelzemon, and then you can bridge into your level 6s afterwards to sort of do more plays and sort of mill as you go. Now it's very important to sort of keep in mind in terms of what you're digivolving, and sort of my ideal first turn play, which Beelzemon tends to like to go first, is you want to identify these key cards in your hand, the Impmons that you have during the situation, and the Ayamakos, and especially Wizardmon X right here. My first turn goal of play, rather than really just giving my opponent as little as memory as possible, I often enough actually give them 3 memory, and this is exactly how I do so. Now these 3 Impmons really depend. In the early stages of the game, you can actually digivolve to whichever you need depending on the situation. And people would tend to digivolve into the Impmon X and then try to cycle for more cards, and then they will try to digivolve into Wizardmon and then Wizardmon X right here. And this is sometimes not a bad play at all if you're trying to cycle through more cards and try to unbrick yourself and see more pieces. However, when you have more choices, it is really, really important for you to identify that this is not the only line of play. The reason why is because you don't want to be wasting some of these resources, because this Wizardmon, ideally, you can want to be keeping it in your hand in particular so that you can actually gain a memory back potentially with Ayamako. Same goes for this Impmon X right here. It is actually really crucial that you just don't digivolve it without thinking twice, because you might want to be digivolving it outside in the battle area instead, so then you can eventually grab yourself any other card back you need from the trash, which is a very important allocation of the resource that you must find. Yes, Rival's Barrage is an excellent card that gives you any card back. However, the main difference with this Impmon X compared to Rival's Barrage is that Impmon X immediately gives you that card back, and if you're able to ever digivolve it for 0, you can grab that card immediately and you can play it that same turn. Whereas Rival's Barrage, you tend to mill it, and then that same turn you can't use its secondary effect of delay until the next turn, which is sometimes too late. So it's very, again, important why you sort of think about these things when you're playing. And digivolving Wizardmon X Antibody in your raising just to put your opponent at 2 memory is not really the most ideal situation that you really want to be in. Your goal is try to mill as fast as you can, and these are some small little key pointers that can help change the pivotal situations of the game state to help you mill even faster and more efficient than ever. So therefore, in my first line of play, I actually put my opponent to 3 memory, mostly either by hard playing this Impmon or even playing Ayamakos just to search. In this current format and in this current state of the game, you rarely get the chance to play Tamers other than your really first few turns, because the more Ayamakos you get to establish, it is just better. There's no other way to play an Ayamako for free in this particular deck, which is why it is up to you to establish as soon as you can. And the main reason is that because Ayamako will continue to provide value to you throughout the entire game from beginning all the way to end, as long as they stay on board to help you combo and bridge again with your plays. So I digivolve into whatever Impmon I need. If you need to find your Ayamakos, hard playing this Impmon is also the way to go. And this one is just the most versatile one, so it's really up to your own decision on how you want to play it. And by passing my opponent to 3 memory, they do their thing. Usually they can't respond to this board immediately, and let's just say they put you back to 1. This is when you can push out and then you Digivolve into Wizardmon X right here, and you pay the 2, and immediately you will get to suspend your Ayamako to either place your Wizardmon here to gain another memory, so you effectively Digivolve for 2 for free, and you mill 2 right here. And then what's even better is if you really want to, you can swing in with it, and you can mill with Yamon there as well. And then also, ideally, most cases, you're just going to use this Impmon to chip away the security as much as you can. And this is the really defining factor where you need to identify and know and understand that not Digivolving this Impmon on top of Yamon is the most ideal way to go, unless you really need to cycle a card and you have no other line of play. The most important thing to keep in mind is that this Impmon from BT2 does not synergize with Yamon whatsoever. The idea of the Impmon with here is that you can chip away at security so you can mill more, but Yamon doesn't provide any value when it comes to its inheritable when you go for this line of play. So that's one thing you want to keep in mind all the time. And hence, that's again why I like to hard play this Impmon throughout the stages of the game. Now, the other really important thing is, again, once you're Digivolving as you go, don't always blindly just Digivolve or hard play this card without like giving a second thought. It is important to think about these important things, because if you do have Ayamako to set up, potentially you might be wanting to put this Impmon to the top of your deck, and then you Digivolve into your Wizardmon X, you will get to mill this Impmon, and then you can mill even more and trash even more cards to really help you turbo into that state of game where you really want to be. And again, as you're building the stack, you do have to be a little bit more aggressive. You do want to be actually building your stack outside in the raising area, in particular, meaning that you want to be in the battle area and start Digivolving as much as you can so you can mill, and faster you go and the faster you mill, the more value it's going to provide you to help you close games super quickly. These are some potential optimal plays that you can be actually doing to potentially actually OTK your opponents just in turn 2 or 3 with the Beelzemon deck. And of course, those chances sometimes are kind of high rolly, but it is up to you as the player to identify these situations to mill as much as you can so you get to that stage and create those opportunities. And as you're going to your level 6s, ideally for this starter deck Beelzemon, the starter deck 14 one, you'd normally want to see it in trash instead, because you potentially get to warp it. But otherwise, if you have a lot of cards in trash, going into this guy is actually quite memory efficient, because he'll help you mill more instantly, and you can get memory back as well, and you gain security +1 as well, so you can actually like go for the hard plays. And then if not, if you want to control a little bit more, you go into this EX2 one as instead, and you get to control the board, delete things, and continue to swing and continue to delete. And as we typically know here, this is when you go into the Beelzemon X Antibody combo along with Blast Mode to finish games. Once you sort of chip them down to 2 or 3 security and you have 20 to 30 cards in trash, you trash the rest of the security and you swing for game just like that. Of course, as you swing, you activate all these inheritables to mill even more, which is why it's just so good. And now this is why I also want to show you guys the particular Beelzemon X is actually really nice. With the Beelzemon X Antibody combo, which we didn't get to talk about, this is the reason why playing the X Antibody, even just as a one-off, is really good in some situations, because you can make some really cool clutch plays. If your opponent's down to 2 or 3 security again, you Digivolve into Beelzemon X. If you ever milled the X Antibody, you grab it from trash back to your hand, and you get to mill 3 cards, or you get to pop something that's level 4 or not, if you have Beelzemon underneath. But let's just say if you didn't, and your opponent again is just down to 2 or 3 security left, you just swing and you have enough cards in trash, you can just immediately Digivolve into Beelzemon X right here, and basically swing for game just like that. Other than that, this is not the only usage of X Antibody. Of course, we're talking about the Impmon in particular that helps you warp too. This is also really cool. You basically just push this out. Once you have 20 or 30 cards in your trash and your opponent is in the lethal range, this is when you want to slide in the X Antibody from your hand underneath it, and then swing, and then warp into the Beelzemon. You can be at 1 memory essentially even, so you pay the 3 right here, suspend Ayamako to set up for more memory gain, and with this card right here, you're probably going to gain a lot of memory back as well, so you're going to be back at 1 at least. And then because you did mill something, you do get to delete something that is a level 3 Digimon on your opponent's side of the board with the Impmon inheritable. And then with the X Antibody, after warping, you basically pay 1, and then you Digivolve in to Beelzemon X right here. And like I mentioned, if your opponent's low on security to begin with, you basically immediately swing for game just like that, without even the need to go into blast mode right here. And of course, sometimes you're going to even have that 1 extra memory, you want to go for it, you can even unsuspend, and then even go for the bigger play, and then swing once more for effectively sort of 1 memory, because you pay 4 and you gain the 3 back with blast mode again, so you can really swing aggressively. And these are some helpful tips that I hope you guys will learn, and I hope it was useful to some of you guys who are trying to improve your own Beelzemon games just from these even more advanced sort of strategy and combos and sort of the way of playing that you should be thinking when you're playing the particular deck. That will wrap up for the deck profile for today. If you guys enjoyed the video and found it helpful, please give it a like. If you have any suggestions, recommendations, or questions, be sure to share it with everyone in the comments down below. We got lots more Digimon videos and content coming with BT12 deck profiles, so be sure to hit that subscribe button right now. Turn on that notification bell to stay tuned. If you guys just can't wait, I want to see early deck lists and first drafts made by me, then definitely join the Avault Club right now as well. As always, thank you so much for watching. You guys have a great day, great night, wherever you are. See you next video, and this is Avault signing out.